Trading card games were the thing in the early 2000s. Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, these weren't just games, they were cultural phenomenons. And then there was Chaotic. It wasn't just another card game with shiny artwork and rules nobody fully read.
If those kids could read, they'd be very upset.
Because, let's be honest, if you ever play a TCG game, you know you can't read. That's just the rules. Sorry, I don't make them. That's just what they are. Chaotic promised something revolutionary, a blend of physical cards and online gameplay, and a rich world-building experience. Yet, despite its ambition, Chaotic fell into obscurity. So, what went wrong? Or the better question is, what went so right that people still talk about it today? So stick around, because by the end of this video, I'll do my best to show you why Chaotic was ahead of its time, why I think it failed, and why I think it deserves a second chance. So my name is Remy, let's get into it. The origins of Chaotic. So picture this, a Danish trading card game called Draco Heads, nothing more than a fun pastime for a niche audience. That's how it started. But then, after a few rebrands from Draco Head 2 and Grows and Gorks, it finally became Chaotic Now and Ever. But in 2006, it rebranded one last time after it landed in North America and completely transformed into the game we in the States know as Chaotic TCG. Suddenly, Chaotic wasn't just a game, it was a revolution. Every card had a unique code, letting you upload your collection online. It wasn't just a cool feature, it was a glimpse into the potential future of digital card games. Chaotic wasn't just content to sit on the shelf beside Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, it wanted to dominate both the playgrounds and the cyberspace. So, what made Chaotic so unique? First, let's talk about the scan and play features. You don't just own the cards, you scan them. In a weird way, it brought the cards from your hand to the screen to life. It was like seeing your favorite toys jump into a video game. The gameplay wasn't just fun, it demanded strategy, creatures, equipment, locations. Every element was a piece of a larger chessboard. Winning felt earned, not lucky. But the real magic? The real magic was the world building. Chaotic wasn't just a game, and I know I keep saying that, but I really want to emphasize it wanted to be more than just a traditional TCG. It was a gateway to a universe, and that universe shined brightest in the animated show. But I'll get back to that animated show in a second. How about I tell you how to play the game first? We should, lay some foundation. So let's break down how Chaotic worked. Each player built an army of creatures, battle gear, and locations. You had a deck filled with attack cards, and these formed the core of your strategies. Creatures. They were the star of the show, each with unique stats like courage, power, and speed. They also had abilities and elemental affinities. Locations. Where the battles took place, adding special effects or conditions to a fight. Battle gear. Types of equipment that boost your creature's stats or give them extra powers. And Music. Spells that turn the tide of battle. Powered by Music, potential counters were available for all your creatures. And I understand that Music sounds kind of weird, but it was such a cool concept to me as a kid because I was a music head even when I was legit, and it was such a cool idea to combine music and magic and build a whole magic system around it. So let's talk about the creature. The creatures were the driving force of the game. To recap what I just said, each creature has stats like courage, power, and wisdom and speed, along with elemental attacks and special abilities with a little bit of flavor text on the cards. Now all these stats weren't just numbered, they defined how your creature performed in battles, and these battles took place in a grid-based arena. Players took turns moving their creatures and challenging opponents. When two creatures faced off, it wasn't just about brute force, attack cards, stats, and strategy all played a role. Factions added even more depth. The Overworlders were noble and tactical, focusing on unity and strength. Their rivals, the Underworlders, thrived in raw power and chaos. The Insectoid-like Damians relied on building power in numbers, while the Marillions brought mind control and unpredictability to the game. Also, there were the Mepedians, the lizard-like people, you can't forget them. But to be honest, I was never a fan of them as a kid. I don't even really remember why, but I think it's because I didn't really like Peyton. His face and voice just made me mad for no reason. Every time he was on screen, internally, I was like, could somebody shut this man up? Regardless, to achieve victory, you needed to eliminate your opponent's creatures or army, or controlling key locations. The combination of tactical depth and resource management made every game a challenge. It wasn't just a card game, it felt like commanding an army. And as a kid, I did not understand this, which was the reason I mostly watched the animated show. And since I just brought it up, let's talk about the cartoon now. With regards to the anime series, this is where things start to get fun. The TV show wasn't just an ad for the game, it was an adventure. It started with season 1, Chaotic Code. Tom Majors, or Major Tom, if you couldn't tell from his naming sense, Tom is clearly a savant when it comes to naming things, so just keep that in mind. Major Tom, like that's just so weak. So Tom, your average kid, stumbles into Param, a world where the creatures from the game he plays are real. They fight, they sing, they have fun, and you can scan them with the device the card game gives you. And after you scan them with that device, you can use their powers, abilities, or items in the Chaotic game at the battle hubs in the show. Not to mention, everything is voiced by Goku, so I get it, like if you pay for Sean Schemmel, you're gonna get your money's worth, and that's a good cost, because Sean Schemmel's great, he's the voice of Goku. But things changed during season 2. That's the beginning of the Marleyan invasion. It cranks up the stakes. A new faction with mind control power. It was a bit darker, deeper, and dare I say, a bit cooler than anyone had imagined for a card game TV show. And by season 3, Secrets of the Lost City, the show had fully committed to expanding its lore, hidden dangers, ancient mysteries. Every episode added a new layer to the world of Chaotic. And what's the point of all this world building if the people that inhabit it weren't interesting? Maxor, Kagor, they weren't just silent characters. They had feelings, emotions, and they developed throughout the show, and it was shown through visual and just actual storytelling. It was really cool. Sure, the animation wasn't award winning, and not to mention after season 1 the art style completely changed, and depending on who you ask, that was either a good or a bad thing. I personally think it was a good thing. Was not a fan of the whole flat cardboard cutout look they had going on with the art style, so I was happy with the change. My grievances aside, whether you like the art style change or not honestly doesn't matter. The characters and the connection to the game that the cartoon was providing were what really mattered, and it kept true to that. So I would have been a fan regardless if they had changed the art style or not. It's not like it was an American Dragon situation, because that was just rough. What they did to my boy Jake in season 2 will never be forgotten, and not for a good reason. And the story didn't stop there. Chaotic had video games, and I'm not just talking about like a TCG video game this time. I mean, it was a TCG video game, but it was a bit different sort of game, let's talk about it. Chaotic didn't just start with TCG and cartoons, it also branched into video games, bringing the world Chaotic created even closer to you. So one of the games was Chaotic Shadow Warrior. It was available for Wii, PS3, the DS, and it wasn't just a cash grab. It lets you explore, pair on battle creatures, and immerse yourself in the Chaotic lore. Critics were, we'll say mixed. They also even had their own website minigame. They were nothing groundbreaking if I'm being completely honest, but they gave you more ways to experience the world of Chaotic. So win-win, I guess. You get a video game, you get more lore, fun times. These games added layer to the fandom. They made you feel like you weren't just playing, you were living in Chaotic. Just don't look too hard at the reviews and you'll have a great time, I promise. Now let's talk about the live events. I'm sure they happened. To be completely honest, I could not find any. So while doing research for this, I was looking deep in them Chaotic trenches and I could not find any live events, and I don't really know why. The closest thing I could find to live events were people playing each other via the online website and self-made tournament. And that's interesting, but I'd still like to see people play it live. So in the comments, if y'all know where I could find any videos or something like that, let me know. I'll look for them. With all the fun and prerequisites out the way, so let's talk about the rise and fall now. For a while, it seemed like Chaotic was unstoppable. The TV show, the cards, the online battles, everything just kinda clicked. But with success always comes challenges. Legal disputes over ownership turned into an anchor that dragged the game down. Lawsuits aren't just messy, they're momentum killers. Not to mention the trading card market was crowded, and it just seemed like Chaotic couldn't carve out enough space. Add in buggy servers and frustrated players, the cracks became impossible to ignore. The game didn't die overnight, it faded piece by piece until it was gone. In a weird way, Chaotic was a victim to its own ambition. And I could talk about how the servers were bad again, or I could go more in depth into the legal disputes, but I want to talk about why I think it failed personally. Simple, I think the show was too good. This is always a main issue for me when it comes to adaptations. When the other adaptations are too good and too far removed from the source material, you don't want to play the source material because it doesn't feel or play the same. And if you recall, early in the video, I talked about the card game was a bit too complex for me as a kid, so I watched the show instead. In turn, the show had become my only real look at in-depth game mechanics. So when the card game didn't play like the fun, relatively well-y animated show with cool effects, punching, kicking, and all the other cool combat stuff, I lost interest. I'm willing to wager people around my age also did the same. It felt foreign and not as fun as watching the group play the game week to week, having adventures, scanning monsters and locations. Just seemed way cooler than playing the actual game. Because when I was a kid, I also liked Yu-Gi-Oh! And the show played almost exactly like the card game. So I understood it, and the show did misrepresent what the game actually played like. You know, majority of the time. Just ignore the whole Millennium items, plotline, shadow games, and eventually Yugi using a turtle to shoot a dragon rider at a castle. Duelist Kingdom was weird and they were making up rules. Like honestly, if they didn't have holograms, imagine Yugi trying to explain that to the guy like, oh, my turtle dragon can shoot my dragon rider at your castle's gravitational ring belt and you lose. Yeah, that's exactly how that works. Yugi was straight up cheating, bro. He was cheating so much in Duelist Kingdom. They was just doing anything in that season, bro. It's crazy. Back on subject, this wasn't only a chaotic issue. For example, Arcane has to deal with this. Also, I just did a video on Arcane. I think it's pretty good. I hope you check it out. I'll put a little link here. That to say, when the adaptation is too good and the spectator goes to the source material, if you don't like the source material because the adaptation is so much different, you don't stick with it. So it becomes a flop like Arcane, a very expensive flop to some extent, which is sad because season 2 of Arcane deserves its flowers. Heck, even season 1 of Arcane deserves even more flowers. Arcane is so good, and that's why I think it failed. But I don't think the game should stay in the dirt, dead, and forgotten. In today's world and digital landscape, it's right for Chaotic's comeback. And I'm not even talking about some Web3 NFT thing, because I hate the term Web3 now and NFTs suck. But imagine a digital card game or an app with modern VFX, sound effects, or augmented reality bringing Param in your living room on the Oculus. Modern games like Pokemon TCG Live or Pocket, MTG Arena, Marvel Snap, Massaduel show that a hybrid model or even a fully digital card game can work and be profitable. Chaotic's ideas weren't just ahead of the time, they were setting down blueprints for where potentially digital card games could go. So do I think Chaotic could be successful today? Absolutely. With the right backing, a modern retouch could combine nostalgia and cutting-edge tech. We could potentially see the coolest hybrid game of all time. Imagine Pokemon Go meets Chaotic, where you're just scanning creatures out in the real world with augmented reality or something of that nature. Imagine how cool that would be. While thinking about that, I had to ask, why talk about Chaotic now? To be honest, I was just feeling nostalgic. Like, that's it. Chaotic wasn't perfect. It stumbled, it fell, it has not gotten up in a few years. It is still in that ditch. But for those who played, it was unforgettable. It wasn't just a card game. It was an adventure, a community, a story. And maybe, just maybe, it's a story worth telling again. So, what about you? Did you play Chaotic, watch the show, or was it just your first time hearing about it from this video? Let me know in the comments, because honestly, I don't think the story's over yet. Fingers crossed, maybe we get like a cool digital client in the future. Honestly, after doing this video, it kind of makes you just want to play the card game. So thanks for watching. If you got this far, like, subscribe, and all the other fun stuff. I will see you in the next video. Happy New Year's if this comes out after New Year's, which it probably will. See you in the next one, guys. Bye.